Okay, today let us discuss about chemical bonding. So before we get to the complete content of chemical bonding, let us learn what is a bond. A bond is nothing but it's a force of attraction which holds minimum two molecules together. So it's a binding force which is holding the molecules together. Now, why do the atoms or molecules combine? So we have so many elements in the periodic table, all of them are not stable. All of them tend to reach a combination state or a combined state. So the reason behind it is because all the atoms are not stable. So stability is obtained only when they reach their noble gas configuration or octet configuration. So we can say, what is an octet rule? Octet rule is nothing but it's a rule in which any atom should have 8 electrons in its valence shell. If it has 8 electrons in the valence shell, then it is said to be octet configuration. So all the atoms would like to reach this octet configuration, or I used another word saying noble gas configuration. All of us know that our noble gases are stable, or they also have another name called as inert gases. They are chemically inert, they do not combine with any other atoms. So that's the reason all the elements would like to go and reach that stage where they can become stable. So in order to reach that stage, they have to undergo so many different kinds of process. In that we have 3 types of bonds. So the reaching an octet can be done by 3 methods. So either they can transfer their electrons completely from one atom to another atom, or they can have a sharing of electrons. So based on that, we can call them as different types of bonds. So we have to learn about 3 types of bond. The first type of bond is ionic, the next is covalent, and moving to coordinate. So let us discuss one after the other in detail. So we should only talk about ionic bond. So before we get into the detail of ionic bond. So how is this bond formed? It's a bond which is formed by a transfer of electrons from one atom to another atom. There should be a complete transfer of electrons. So for this or any bond, we should have minimum 2 elements or 2 atoms. So one atom is ready to lose an electron, another atom would be ready to accept an electron. So now who are these atoms who would be ready to lose an electron or ready to gain an electron? Okay, so we have, generally we know in the periodic table we have some categories called as metals and non-metals. So our metals are the ones who are usually the positive charges, or they are also called as electropositive elements, because they would tend to lose the electrons and reach their nearest noble gas configuration or reach the octet configuration. Whereas our non-metals are the elements which are usually accepting the electrons. They accept the electrons to become stable, or they go and reach the nearest noble gas configuration because they are very close to the noble gas configuration. So then let's talk about the ionic bond. It's nothing but it's occurring by transfer of electrons. Now, how does a covalent bond occur? A covalent bond will be obtained or they happen due to sharing of electrons. And in this, we should be very careful that when we are using the word sharing, it's a mutual sharing. Sharing which is mutual. What do I mean by the word mutual? Mutual means both the participants should share equally. So if we have 2 atoms, both the atoms will be sharing equal number of electrons. So that's the reason we use the word mutual sharing of electrons. So sharing mutual electrons. Now we have the third type of a bond called as coordinate bond. So this is again a sharing, but here we don't have a mutual bond. It's again sharing of electrons, but here it is not mutual. That means what? We can have 2 atoms who are trying to combine. In this, one of the atom will be more which has electron rich, so it would be sharing the electrons. It's completely sharing from one side. So here it's a sharing between 2 atoms, so it's called as mutual, whereas coordinates, it's sharing from one side. So I am electron rich, I share an electrons to this electron deficient. So it is a one direction process. So that is what is our coordinate bond. So a quick recapitulation or a definition, I hope all of you have got it. Ionic is due to transfer of electrons, sharing of electrons, neutral is covalent, coordinate is sharing. Okay, now let us discuss about ionic bond in detail with an example. So ionic bond, as informed, it is nothing but a bond formed by a transfer of electron. So we should have two atoms. So I am just taking the example of a simple sodium chloride. All of us know Na is nothing but our sodium atom, chlorine is Cl. So we should know about its electronic configuration. So electronic configuration is nothing but you are going to put the electrons in the different shells according to a particular arrangement. So we have shells called as K, L and M. So you can write as K shell, L shell and M shell. So each shell has its own capacity. So K shell has a capacity of accepting only 2 electrons. More than 2 it will never hold. So it can only hold about 2 electrons. L shell's capacity is to hold about 8 electrons. So maximum 8 electrons can be held. Then coming to M shell has a capability of holding 80 electrons together. So now we will be only doing with those till M shell. So now let us take sodium. You have 11 electrons. We shall start writing the electronic configuration. If you see, we are going to put 2 electrons in K shell, finish the capacity of the K and then move to L shell. So that is the rule. When you are trying to put the electrons, you have to finish the maximum capacity for the shell. First shell and then switch over to the next shell. So you cannot do it like the way we want. So you have to finish their maximum capacity. So K has got 2, it's completely filled. L has got 8, it's completely filled. So now all together I have got 10 electrons, but sodium has 11 electrons. So I am going to put 1 electron to L. The maximum is 80, minimum 1 electron has to be there in that shell. So that's the reason we have put 1 electron there. Now similarly, let's talk about chlorine. You can see chlorine has 17 electrons. So when I fill, I give it 2 for K, L gets 8 and M gets 7 because I have 17. So all together when you add up these numbers, you should get back its atomic number or the number of electrons. So we get 7 here and 1 there. Now valence shell. A valence shell is nothing but the last shell of that particular atom. Each atom can have different number of shells. Dependent on the shell, the last shell of that particular atom is called as valence shell. Now for me, we have taken Na and Cl, so both of them have a valence shell called as M shell because the last electrons are entering into the M. For sodium, it's entering for 1 and for chlorine, 7 electrons are entering into the M. So we get that as a valence shell. Now what is valence electrons? Valence electrons are the electrons which are filled in the valence shell. So how many electrons are there in the last shell? That is what is the valence electrons. So you can represent it as Ve. So I am just using that. So this is more important for us. We need to mark the valence electrons first. So these are the electrons which are participating in the transfer or gain. The inner core electrons will not be participating. The reason being that they are very close to the nucleus. So the nucleus will be holding them tightly. So they cannot be moving freely. So usually the last electrons are the one which can be moving around because the nuclear charge is not that strong. So they are the one who will be undergoing a transfer or who will be shared. So we are talking about ionic. So we have to see how the transfer of electrons occur. Now we have got 2 elements, one is sodium and chlorine. So here you have only 1 electron in the valence shell. Now if sodium has to go to a configuration or it has to obey octet rule, it should have 8 electrons in the valence shell. The options for sodium are, it can either lose this 1 electron. So what happens when there is no electron in the M, there is no shell. So we will come back to L. L will be the valence shell. So L has got 8 electrons. So therefore it becomes stable. The second option is, it can accept the electrons. How many more has to be accepted? 7 more because The number which we need is 8. So it should accept 7. So when electron is being accepted, it is a great amount of energy which is involved. So we shall see which is the feasible or which is more easier. So instead of sodium accepting 7 electrons, it is easy for sodium atom to lose that 1 electron. So easily it gives off that electron. So therefore what happens is sodium will lose this 1 electron out. And then it would become a cation. That is nothing but it would get back to its Na+1 configuration. So we can write it like this. You will get Na plus, which has 10 electrons now, 2 and 8. So now my valence electrons are this. So this is my Pp. So we have reached our octet. So now sodium is becoming stable. Now coming to chlorine, what happens to chlorine? Chlorine has got 7 electrons in the valence shell. So it's easy for chlorine to accept 1 more electron and reach its octet configuration. So what does chlorine do? It's better for chlorine to accept 1 electron than losing 7 electrons. So we should see whether it can accept or lose. How do we understand that? If you're very close to the number 8, then that element would definitely accept the electrons. If the number is very far from 8, then it would tend to lose the electrons. So therefore now our chlorine will tend to gain 1 more electron and become octet. So from where is it gaining that electron? It's gaining from our sodium atom, where it has lost 1 electron. That 1 electron will be accepted by chlorine. So chlorine accepts 1 electron. So it's an acceptancy, so I'm putting the arrow mark keywords. Whereas in sodium it is losing, so the arrow mark is out. So now what happens to chlorine? We will get a negative. And the number of electrons has increased. So negative indicates that electron is rich. Positive indicates that electrons are less. So now if you write the electronic configuration, I will get it as 2, 8 and 8. This becomes my valence shell again. So both the atoms have got octet in the last shell, so they are stable. Now what happens is, they have reached the stability state. Now one has positive charge, another one has a negative charge. So all of us know that when there are unlike poles, when there are positive and negative, they would tend to attract each other. So therefore our sodium and chlorine gets into a force of attraction which is very strong, and then they would tend to form a bond called as NaCl. The bond is represented by just a small line. So if you see at the bottom, we are supposed to write the Lewis dot structure. Now before we get into the Lewis dot structure, what is this Lewis dot structure? It's a simple way of representing the electrons in the form of a dot. And what electrons are being represented? Are we representing the every electron? No. In Lewis dot structure, we are only representing the valence electrons as a dot. So for sodium atom, I had only 1 valence electron, so I have just taken it as a cross. You can use the dot, but I am using a cross so that you can identify whose electron has been transferred. Okay, so sodium I have put a cross mark there, and for chlorine I have put dots. So I have got 1 cross because 1 valence electrons for sodium, and I have got 7 dots because 7 electrons for chlorine. So what happens is, there is a transfer of electrons. So this electrons are being transferred to my chlorine. So therefore I get a bond. So Na will become plus because it has lost the electron, whereas chlorine will get a negative sign because it has accepted the electron. Finally, you can represent it in the form of a bond. Na, one small line that indicates it's a bond. So it's a bond which is just drawn by a hyphen. So therefore we get, this is how we get our ionic bond. So this is an example. Now let us see what are the conditions for the ionic bond formation. Here are the conditions for the ionic bond formation. So we have important 3 conditions. So let's reach one after the other. Low ionization energy is the first condition for the ionic bond. Now what is this ionization energy? Ionization energy is very clearly giving you the hint there, it's an ionized energy. So energy required for an atom to get ionized. What is ionized? It should tend to form an ion. So it can form an ion by losing an electron, it can form an ion by accepting an electron. So now when I say ionization energy, it's very particularly the minimum amount of energy required for an atom to remove an electron. So how much energy is required for that particular atom to remove an electron out? That is the minimum amount. It should be minimum, then only it is feasible. So the ionization energy is the amount of the minimum amount of the energy required to remove an valence electron out from its nucleus atom. So for this sodium, I have one electron, so what is the ionization energy required? So that is what is ionization energy. So the value should be very low. That means I am supposed to give a very less amount of energy. This less amount of energy can be in some 300 kilojoules. So we measure it in kilojoules per mole. So now the first condition is low ionization energy. So lower the ionization energy, the formation of cation is being favored. So it favors the formation of cation. So for ionic bond, I need two things. One is a cation and other one is an anion. So my first condition favors my cation. So coming to the second condition, high electron affinity. Ea is nothing but electron affinity. So what is this electron affinity? As the definition clearly says, electron affinity, or the hint is there, it's an affinity towards the electron. So how much electron rich or how much love towards the electron is that atom having? So if it is very close to the noble gas configuration, it would have some amount of affinity to reach the noble gas. So there is a greater affinity of accepting the electrons. So therefore that is what is your electron affinity. So the acceptancy of electrons should be very high for one atom. So then what does that favor? The electron affinity, higher is the electron affinity value, it favors the formation of my anion. So this is a cation and this is the anion which is being formed. So when we get a cation and when we get an anion, there is an opposite charge, so there will be an attractive force. The third condition is high electron negativity. So what is this electron negativity? It's nothing but a tendency of any atom to attract the shared pair of electrons. So that is a tendency of accepting or pulling the electrons which has already been shared. That means it's still electron rich. It needs more and more electrons. So therefore, it will be pulling the electrons towards itself. When the electron affinity is very high to any one atom, then the bond will be quite stronger. So now let's come back to the example of NaCl. In this compound, my Na is a cation. So therefore the sodium atom will have a low ionization energy, whereas the chlorine is an electron affinity compound. So chlorine will have high electron affinity and the chlorine itself will have high electron negativity. So whatever electron has been transferred, the chlorine atom would be still waiting to accept the share. So it would be trying to pull the shared pair of electrons, or it would be trying to pull the molecule very closer to itself. So therefore the bond becomes stronger. So these are the three conditions for the formation of our ionic bond. Right? Okay. Now let's take another example. MgCl2. This is magnesium chloride. Here you have to keep in one thing in mind. You have two chlorine atoms. It's not unlike our NaCl. So let's write the electronic configuration Mg12. When we write the electronic configuration, we get 2, 8 and 2. So 2 electrons in the cation, 8 in the N and 2 in the M shell. Similarly, our chlorine remains same. So you have 2 chlorine atoms and just representing one chlorine here because they have the same electronic configuration. So you get K, N, N. Now your magnesium has got 2 valence electrons, so that means it's easy for magnesium to lose 2 electrons and get back to the octet here. Because once it loses these 2 electrons, you will have only 8 electrons in the valence shell. Similarly, chlorine will accept 1 electron. I repeat, magnesium loses 2 electrons, chlorine accepts only 1 electron. So that's the reason we say we have 2 chlorine atoms. each chlorine will accept 1. So therefore 2 chlorines will accept 2 electrons given from magnesium. So let's show that. Mg gives away all the electrons. Then you get the cation, magnesium 2,8. So this is my valence electrons now, which is octet, so it will be stable. Coming to chlorine, Cl minus 288. So this is my valence electrons. So you will have 2 Cl minus. Got it? Now let's represent what happens next. After this you have 2 positive charge on magnesium and 2 chlorine atoms, one each other. So what happens? There is a strong force of attraction again between the positive and negative, so they start attracting each other. So now let's see the Lewis dot structure. Magnesium I have taken cross in order to identify the electrons. You can put a dot also, but when we put a cross we clearly get to know where is the electrons moving to. So 2 Cl, 2 chlorine atoms. So each chlorine will have 7 electrons in its valence shell. So now these 2 electrons will be going to the chlorine atoms. So here we go. You get 1 chlorine with a negative sign and 1 electron of magnesium comes out here. Another 1 electron of magnesium comes here with for the other chlorine. So Mg plus 2, Cl here and Cl here. Or you can just write it. A bond between magnesium will have 2 bonds. One is for 1 chlorine and another 1 bond towards the other chlorine. So that is your magnesium chloride. Similarly, we have one more example for ionic compound, that is calcium oxide. Try doing calcium oxide on your own. So write down its electronic configuration, see what is the feasibilities of losing and gaining the electrons. So then that's about